Hi everyone, Mike and I just have a little video to share with you. Quite often, or a lot of times, we get emails and messages asking if we can, or if I can explain how Mike came into my life, explain a little bit about PTSD and what happened and how I got PTSD and that. And a few years ago, I did 3 videos on this, but what we've done recently is we've combined those 3 videos so it's a little easier for us to show people, how Mike came into my life and all that. It might help people who don't know about PTSD, might learn a little bit about it. Also, I have to say that near the end of the 3 videos, I have to say there's a warning, because there's some graphic images, and so I wanted to warn you about that. And before the graphic images show up, there'll be another warning explaining that you may not want to watch them or look at them, but it will explain a little bit, what I went through and how I got PTSD. Gotta get Mike in there. So Mike and I have been talking about this and how we'd like to present the videos to you, and so that's what we're going to do. I can't say I hope you enjoy it, but it might help some people learn a little bit about PTSD and about how Mike came into my life and all that. So there you go. This is going to be the start of me talking about PTSD. PTSD is a strange and horrible disability. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. And what it is you have experienced something that is so traumatic that your brain has trouble understanding it, I guess. I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor. I'm just going to tell you my experiences in my words, and that's all I can do. I've had PTSD since February 14th, 2011. That was my day of beginning this journey. PTSD, your brain has a trouble figuring out what happened, or why it happened, and it's so traumatic that it just can't figure it out. So all of your senses can be triggers for the PTSD, and by that I mean your sight, hearing, a smell, a sound. All these senses can trigger a reaction from the incident. I don't know how else to explain it other than, when I get into my story. Someone has a disability where they can't walk, or they're blind, or things like that. People can see right away, hey, that person has a disability. With PTSD, those people look like they're normal, and there's nothing wrong with them. But, and those of you on this page who have PTSD are going to know what I'm talking about People with PTSD, they're in prison. In their mind, it's not able to cope. You know, you're just gonna have trouble with a lot of things. These triggers are just terrible. With me, I went through. My sight can be a trigger. If I see something, it can trigger a reaction. If I hear something, that definitely can trigger a reaction. So it's I've talked to a police officer, and I talked to a military person, and who had PTSD, and we instantly knew how the other person felt. Where when you talk to someone else who doesn't have PTSD, you know, get over it, you know, move on. You can't. You're in prison, and it's a terrible thing. Like, since 2011, I've been dealing with this. Now, I went to a number of trauma therapists, and they helped because I wasn't able to cope at all. But at least now I can cope, and they've told me that this is the best it's going to get. I have to go through life with this, and nothing you can do. There are medications that can help. I have tried mushrooms, and that can help. I try cannabis, and actually I take cannabis every night, and it's very strong cannabis. I take it. It's called RSO, Rick Simpson oil. He's the one that really put this cannabis oil together. He is a great product. So I take it every night, and it helps me sleep. Once you hear what happened to me, you'll understand why getting me to sleep is a little difficult. I'm trying to think of all the ways PTSD affects me. I have Mike. He helps me a lot, and as I get into my story, you'll see how he has helped me. But I guess the best way to say it is, people with PTSD, they look normal, they look happy, but they're in prison. They feel the effects of PTSD, and no one else sees it. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. Starting to rain again, so I guess we're going to have to deal with some thunder. So if you have some questions about PTSD, I'll try to answer them for you. The people that have it on this page, and I've talked to a number of them, or I've read their comments, they have it, and they're going to know instantly how I am and how I feel. And probably after I get done this little talk, I'll think of something else that I should have said. But anyway, this is a long process. Even like last night, I tried to go through what I was going to say about PTSD, and even that, I had to go back and go through the trauma again, and And people with PTSD, they're going to go through the trauma again and again and again. Since 2011, I have gone through the trauma in my head probably tens of thousands of times. Every single day I think about it. And you just can't get away from it. When I'll give you a little hint here. When it first happened to me, for probably a couple of years after, I couldn't look at a hammer or a knife. It was just too traumatic. I couldn't even touch a knife or a hammer. And probably after you've seen my videos, you see that I do like to do things with tools, but a hammer and a knife, man, oh man, that was traumatic to me. Some sounds really bother me. And someone who has PTSD, they may have different triggers, but they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Like you figure that maybe a paramedic or a police officer or like a police officer, he can go up to an incident where the person's been shot in the face with a shotgun. Not a pleasant sight. A paramedic goes to an accident and has to pick up someone's head or their body part. That's really traumatic. That's something that the general public don't see, but these people do. And it's really traumatic. And I've talked to military guys, and I've talked to other people who have PTSD. Right away, we instantly relate. We know exactly what we're going through. Anyway, I'll try to make this short. I hope I've answered some of your questions. My next video will be how I got this crazy disability. And some of you may not want to hear the story because it's not a nice story. Hi guys, this is video 2 on PTSD. I may have to do an A and B portion of video 2 because I don't know how long this is going to take. And I may also have to stop it once in a while because in order for me to tell the story, I got to go back and go through it to remember all the stuff that I need to tell you. So on February 14th, 2011, a little after midnight, I was sound asleep. I sleep on my right side, and I was totally sound asleep. I was 62 at the time, and I still went to bed early, just like I do now. Anyway, I felt what I would express as a pressure on my head. And it felt like I laid there for a few minutes trying to figure out what that was. But I know it was only seconds. And I'm trying to figure out, what the heck was that? Then I hear the rustle of clothing. And I remember thinking to myself, there's somebody in my room. So I went to sit up. And another one, back of my head. I felt something in the back of my head. And I was being beaten with a hammer. Now, if you take a hammer and just hang on a second, guys. Just little Mikey. I was being hit or beaten with a hammer, and the one that got me here, that went through my skull into my brain. I still have a hole in my head there. Now, just for visual, if you were to take a hammer and you just tap your head, that's going to hurt. You imagine what it feels like when somebody's pounding you with a hammer. The funny thing is with your body is sometimes if the pain is amazing, your body will eliminate it somehow. So even though I was being hit with a hammer, it didn't hurt. I felt the reaction of it. I felt like my head being pushed forward. So after the second hit, I turned around to see, because this person was behind me. I turned around and then instantly, bang, I got another one. That one there took a chunk right out of my scalp, and it was gone. And so on that particular hit, I fell back. I had a TV stand that was about 5 feet high, and it had glass shelves, had 5 glass shelves, and then I had an old style 20-inch tube TV on top. Well, I fell back through all the glass shelves, broke them all, and fell on the floor, and the TV fell on top of me. Now, the only way I can think is that he thought he had killed me. Because when I started to move again and get up, he threw the mattress from my bed all up in front of him to protect himself, I guess. I don't know. So I got up, and there was only a tiny space between the mattress and him and me escaping. And I ran out into my kitchen. I grabbed a knife and ran out into the main hallway of my building, which I live on the 24th floor, and I'm out there after midnight in my underwear. And I remember, I wouldn't say I was running down the hall. I was more like falling forward. Like it was a weird sensation, and everything slows down, really slow. And that's a protective thing. That's your brain slowing things down so it can grasp, what's going on. I made it to the elevator. I didn't push the button because I didn't want to get trapped in the elevator with this person. But I got to the elevator. I turned around, and as soon as I turned around, within a split second, he was right there in front of me, and now he has a knife. The knife he had was bigger than this, and a lot heavier, and a lot sharper. But anyway, just to give you a visual of this. So then he stabbed me through here, like he went like that. As soon as he did that, I lost half my air. And from the way I understand it, there's a nerve comes down here, and it branches off and runs your diaphragm. And my nerve got cut, and so this diaphragm stopped working. So that means that this lung is no longer working. So I lost half my air right away, and I'm just I'm gasping for air, and I started yelling, "Call the police!" That everybody else is in bed in the building. But anyway, so I ran further down the hall. I banged on doors. Oh, by the way, the knife that I had picked up was the long bread knife, very flimsy, no point on it. You could shove the point in your hand and it wouldn't even hurt. I mainly wanted something long to keep this person away from me. And so I ran down the hall. I'm knocking on doors. And now he's hacking at my head with this knife, and it's a heavy-duty knife. It's a big knife. Sometimes we call them, what do we call it? I can't think of the knife. I can't think of the name of the knife, but it's a heavy-duty knife for chopping meat and bone and stuff like that. And so he's hacking at my head. To try and give you another how to express how this felt, a lot of you who are my age or a little bit younger went to school, and we had a 12-inch ruler, wooden ruler, and it was like taking that ruler and just kind of cracking it over my head. And it didn't hurt. I didn't realize it at the time, but every time he hit me with that knife, it was going right through my skull, right through my scalp, into my skull, and into the bone. I still have multiple grooves in my skull from the knife hitting me. But the weird thing is, it didn't hurt. It was annoying to me because I could hear the crack sound, crack, crack, crack. One of the strikes of the knife. Maybe I can show you. Hard to do without my glasses. Can't see. Anyway, it come down through here, missed my eye, across my nose, and down into here. So luckily, it didn't take out my eye. And another strange thing, it's going to be strange to hear me say this, but it's a good thing he was going after my head, because that's the most protected part of your body. If he would have went after my guts, I wouldn't be telling you the story. I'd be done. So, and he's fully dressed. He's got a long trench coat on, work boots, and he's got this knife that he keeps hacking at me. So he's hacking at me, and it was annoying, and I reached up and grabbed his knife by the blade, which not a good thing to do. So I grabbed the knife by the blade, and he looked up at the knife, and it exposed his neck, because I had tried to stab him in the stomach, but he's wearing this heavy coat, and I got this flimsy little knife, and it wouldn't do anything. It just left marks on the coat. It wouldn't even penetrate the coat. Anyway, when he looked up at me hanging onto the knife blade, it exposed his neck, and I went across his neck with my knife. And then I think he fell down. And I took off and I ran back to my unit, and closed the door, locked it. I went to the kitchen sink, trying to just get a grasp of what the frig is going on. And then I went into my bedroom. The kitchen was just blood everywhere. My bedroom was demolished and blood everywhere. I sat down on the floor just to back up a little bit. The day before, I had my cell phone stolen. And so I'm in there, and I got nothing. And I can hear him trying to get in the door. Sorry, I kind of lose it for a minute here. So I'm laying on the floor, and my cell phone was stolen the day before, and I had an old cell phone, a really old one, the one with a flip time, and luckily I had started to charge it the day before because I lost my other one, and luckily it worked. So I called 911 and told them what was going on, that I'd been attacked. A meat cleaver. That's the word. I'd been attacked by a meat cleaver, because that's all I saw. I didn't see the hammer until after the police told me that there was a hammer and wanted to know if it was my hammer. And I said, no, it's not my hammer. My hammer's in my shop, and I had round welts on my head. So I called 911, and I was on the call for 911 for half an hour, and I'm telling them, hey, you gotta hurry. I didn't realize it, but they were already here. From what I understand from management weeks after, is that there was 3 ambulances called, 22 police cars came, and also because I locked the door and I wasn't going to open it, and I told them that. I told 911 that I'm not opening the friggin' door. So they had to call SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics, and they broke into the door. Because he had told them that I had a dog, which I didn't. He told them that I had a gun, which I didn't. And so they didn't know what was going on. And he told them that I attacked him. And so they were coming after me, thinking that he was the victim. And so finally, I hear the door bang, and I'm thinking, I didn't know the police were out there. I'm thinking, he's coming in. And then I hear them announce that it's police. They wanted to know where I was. So I guided them through. I said, follow this, and I'm sure that all they had to do is follow the blood. Anyway, he's Special Weapons and Tactics. He comes in and points his rifle right at me. And he said, drop the weapon. And I'm thinking, I don't have a weapon. I got a freaking bread knife. Anyway, that's what he meant. So I dropped that. They're thinking that I'm the attacker. So then I remember an officer coming in. Also, the paramedics, I guess they were paramedics. They were dressed in helmets and the whole bit. Like, they had to be special paramedics going into a dangerous situation or something. Anyway, I think it was a lady. She'd come over and kind of looked at my scalp, and I remember her saying, "Oh my God!" And I'm just oozing blood, just everywhere. I got cuts on my arms, my hand where I grabbed this knife, off of my shoulder, my face, my head. I got marks over here where I fell through the glass TV stand. And I remember one officer coming in and said, "This guy's got the cell phone." So they knew that I was the one that called. And different things affect me differently. I remember before I knew the police were coming, or were already here, I told the 911 operator that you gotta hurry. I'm bleeding. And it always gets me, because she said, we're all sorry. She said, we're all coming for you. Sorry, guys. We're all coming for you. And that really bothered me, because I don't ask for help from anybody. I do everything myself. Wouldn't matter what it is. I just don't ask for help. And here I am asking for help. Anyway, they put me on a stretcher and carried me outside, and there was lots of police cars, and they had me on the stretcher, and this is February, so it's cold out, and I'm only in my underwear. They had a intravenous or something going in my arm. Anyway, so I'm freezing outside, and she went to check, or they were checking him in the other ambulance, and then finally they put me in an ambulance. I remember the lady, or the paramedic, after they got me in the ambulance, I remember her saying, she said, "Scott, you gotta go. This is critical." Now, I remember that, and that always made me kind of laugh, because I think you hit every bump you could find, and well, if I don't die from this, I'm gonna die in an ambulance accident. He was moving right along. Anyway, I get to the hospital. They have this staple gun that had all kinds of staples in my head. I had about 250 staples and stitches in my head, and I had stitches down through here. My arm was all stitched up. Now, I have a lot of nerve damage. You know when your foot's asleep and it's numb, but if you touch it, it kind of hurts. Well, that's the way my arm is. It's asleep, but just anything touching it, like a long sleeve shirt, that hurts. And I've only been started wearing a watch because I have a really bad cut here, and even the watch, if it touches that, it kind of hurts. Then I had the hole in my head. So and half of my scalp is all, there's no nerve damage again. So it's hard for me to sleep on this side of my head because it's very sensitive. Anyway, so they take me to the hospital. I get all stapled up, stitched up, and I'm laying in the ER. I guess that's where I am. And I remember a police officer coming in, or a couple of them, I guess, and he said, "You're under arrest, and you're charged with attempted murder and weapons, dangerous, I think it was, and assault with a deadly weapon or something like that." Because he's telling them that I attacked him. So, and I'm saying that was self-defense. Like, I had no choice. And he said, "Well, we're going to sort it out." So they had forensics come, and that would have been interesting to watch how they do that, but I couldn't see that. But they came and did blood splatter analysis, I guess, to find out what direction I was going, and they later on they inked my feet to see if it was my footprints that were in the floor, which direction I was going. So all that was pretty interesting. My apartment and the hallway that I ran out into came to a total of $16,000 damage. Blood smeared the full total length of the hallway, all over the wallpaper. The carpet's all blood. And after I got released from the hospital, I was about there for 3 days, and I went to a different jurisdiction to recover. My sons came and got me, and I'm not sure if I should stop this here, or I gotta think how much further I've got. Anyway, I suppose I can, if I stop it, I'll just edit it out and I'll start a new one. So anyway, I'll carry on. So I was at a different jurisdiction. So the police told me that they were going to set up an interview with a counselor in that jurisdiction, and so I went to the appointment. I went in like a conference room, and this lady police officer came in, and just hang on a second. I gotta show you Mike. See if I can do this. Mike, you're a little wet, you know. Is it raining out? Well, that's what you get when you go outside in the rain. You're gonna look a little wet. You okay, buddy? Just hang on. Just bear with me. Hang on. Okay, so I'm at a different jurisdiction. I'm in the conference room, and the lady police officer come in. And one of the things that the other police department told me is to make sure that whoever you talk to, they see these photographs. So I sit down. She sits down. She says, "Okay, tell me what your problem is." I said, "Well, the police department in my jurisdiction said that you need to see these pictures." And I remember, she said, "No, I don't need to see any pictures. Just tell me what your problem is." And I said, "Well, they said that you need to see these pictures." So I said, "Okay, show me the pictures." So she goes through all the pictures. It's just, this is way beyond me. She says, "You need a trauma therapist." She says, I'm not qualified to do this." So I was kind of disappointing for me, because I thought I was going to get some help. And anyway, they set it up I went to a really, really amazing trauma therapist, and that's where I learned EMDR, I think it's called, and they put a pair of headphones on you, and you hear a little wee, very clear bell, and the bell travels from this ear and it goes over to that ear. And while it's doing that, you have to go through and tell the trauma therapist what you're feeling and all the emotions and what's happening to you. So I have to redo the incident. And what the MDR does, it connects the two sides of your head, because you got a logical side, I guess, and you got an emotional side, and they weren't talking to each other. So emotionally, I'm a wreck. Logically, I don't understand what the hell's going on. So the MDR, that made the two sides of my brain be able to talk. So then, now this is a couple months later, I go back to my condo. I had looked all over for a condo, another place to live, and then finally I got thinking, no way. I mean, this is not going to kick me out of my home. I'm going to take charge, and I'm going back to my home. People were kind of surprised that I did that, but I'm not going to let him win. So I went back to my condo, and every night I would go to bed, and I started to feel not very good. And I remember about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, one morning, there's something wrong. So I got up, got dressed, drove myself to the hospital, talked to somebody there, and I told them what had happened, and I said, there's something wrong with me. I don't know, And I went through a couple of doctors trying to figure out what was going on. And finally, and I think it was a lady doctor, finally, she said, it sounds to me like you're sleep deprived. And I said, well, I go to bed every night. She said, yeah, but are you sleeping? And I thought, well, I go to bed, so I must be sleeping. But apparently I wasn't, and different parts of me were shutting down. And so she said, you take these and go home and go to bed. And so I did. Oh man, it was the best sleep I've ever had. I felt so good. Finally, I got to sleep. That's what was wrong. I was sleep deprived. I wasn't sleeping at all, because I would wake up and hear. Hang on a second. Little Mike, he has to have his thing. I'll try to show you what he's doing here. You're a little wet, Mike. Anyway, so where the heck was I? So I started sleeping. What it was is I would go to bed. I may have fallen asleep for a couple of minutes, but I would hear something, and that would keep me awake. I would be awake the rest of the night because I thought he's coming back to kill me. Even the building creaking or whatever, my mind, he's coming back. So I was awake all the time, and I had I had weapons hidden everywhere. So there's no place in my place that I wouldn't have a weapon available to me. I had locks and alarms on all the doors, even bedroom doors, and then I had barricaded. That's kind of where some of you have mentioned Mike's little door. That's kind of where that came from, because I could lock and board up the bedroom door, and he could still get in, and even for his protection, he could get into a protected room and, be safe. But that's kind of where that little door came from, and I kept it. It worked pretty good. So I am going to stop it here, because this is where I'm gradually going to get into Mike. So I'm going to stop it here. Sorry about the, hesitating or whatever. But I give you an idea, what I went through and how I developed PTSD. Sounds bother me. Mike, hey. He's stuck and going around in a circle. Mike, hey Mike, lay down. Okay? Yeah, lay down. So this is where we're going to get into how I got Mike and how he saved my life and all that. Hi everyone. Video 2 was a little difficult for me, but now we're on video 3, and this is how Mike came into my life. First, I have to say that the person that did this was had some mental issues, and they were high on crack cocaine, according to the police. And he went away. He was charged with attempted murder. All my charges were dropped. After forensics analyzed my unit, they could see that I was telling the truth and that I didn't attack anybody. In video 2, I mentioned about being on sleeping pills. These were really strong sleeping pills. I had to be knocked out every night so I wouldn't hear a sound and be awake all night. So I had to take the sleeping pills to sleep. But I was a zombie during the day. And the more time went on, the more that I couldn't function during the day. There was so much residue, I guess, from the sleeping pills, but I needed them. So a trauma therapist, who turned out to be a good friend, suggested I get a service dog. They said they can be trained to do all kinds of things, and what I needed Mike for was his ability to hear. He has tremendous hearing, as you guys know, that they can hear thunderstorms and firecrackers a long ways away. So I needed him for that, and I needed him for his ability to judge people. There are certain people that he doesn't like, and when I meet someone who is who he hasn't been introduced to, if I'm talking to that person, Mike always sits in front of me or him or them, so that he is dividing us. The person would have to step over Mike to get to me, and he's just learned that. Like he just knows that. I think sometimes he picks up some of my traits, but he sure knows me. He knows me better than I know myself. He gets me up in the morning. He puts me to bed at night. If I don't go to bed at a certain time, he won't leave me alone until I go to bed. And once I go to bed, he lays down and goes to sleep. His job's done. So if I heard a sound during the night, I could look at Mike, and if he was still sleeping, then I knew everything was okay. Nothing to worry about. Since I've had him in 11 years or 10 years, There's only been twice where he was alerted. Also, that scared the crap out of me. But anyway, it turned out it was just nothing. But Mike saved my life by getting me off those sleeping pills. Now I don't have any drugs. I don't have any sleeping pills. I don't need to have a pill that's strong, that has residue during the day. Now, I did mention that I take RSO, cannabis oil, at night. It helps a lot. It helps me relax. It helps me go to sleep. I still can function, but it really helps. Plus, with Mike, I don't have any concerns. Just one thing, he'll alert me if someone's at the door. Even before they get to the door, he knows that somebody's coming. If I'm at the kitchen sink and I've got the water running, my back is to the door, I used to just panic when that happened. I would wash something really quick and turn the water off so I could hear if somebody was behind me. But with Mike, I can relax. I know that he's going to let me know if someone's there, for sure. If they're at the door, if they're coming in. And the people that he has found that he doesn't like, he shows that he doesn't like them. There's an expression, just forget what it is, something you can't trust a person who doesn't like a dog, but you can trust a dog who doesn't like a person. I always like that saying. Anyway, hopefully I've answered your questions. I have no fear now with Mike. If I go out occasionally to the mall or whatever, I'll take Mike with me. Just hang on a second. If I go to the mall and I'm feeling not comfortable, if there's a lot of people at the mall, which I don't like being around a lot of people, so they're close to me, because I can't trust anymore. I'll take Mike with me, and Mike automatically, if someone stops to talk to me, Mike automatically stops them from coming closer. He just gets in their way. So occasionally I'll take him to the mall. He doesn't do that all the time, and sometimes I don't need him. I mostly need Mike at home in my place. And I know that I'm forgetting things that he does that I've just become accustomed to. But he helps me so much. He knows when I'm upset or uncomfortable. He just knows. So I hope I've answered some of your questions. I know. I'll just pause for a second to let me think about other things. One thing that I just thought of, I can't go into a lot of details about this other person or the incident, because it might not be a good idea to mention too much more about the incident, for my own safety. But Mike has been a blessing. I can't tell you how much he does for me. And the fact that he knows when I need to go to bed. And he won't let up until I go to bed. And the same thing in the morning. if we're going to the coffee shop. He's up and ready to go, and he wakes me up, and we're going. If I'm not comfortable in a situation, he's right there beside me. He'll get on my lap. He'll lay on me. He knows how to comfort me. I can't think of anything else to tell you guys. If you have any questions, you let me know. I'll do what I can do to answer your question. And I'll probably think of other things I should have said. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. And by the comments, I see that you guys enjoyed my story. And hopefully it can get people who don't have PTSD to understand the disability a bit better. Those who have PTSD, you know what we deal with. So, anyway, thanks, guys. Hi, guys. Just a little side note for you. When I was in the hospital, the police weren't sure who was the victim, who was the aggressor. And so, because they didn't know, I was shackled by the ankles to the hospital bed for days while I was there. And I was also under 24-hour guard by 2 police officers. And I'm assuming that the other person was that way too. Handcuffed to the bed and also guarded by police. So I just wanted to let you know that even though I was innocent, I was treated like I was guilty because they didn't know whether I was or not. They weren't sure what they were dealing with. Anyway, forensics proved my side, and I just wanted to let you know that even though I was a victim, I was treated like a criminal. But that's okay. I understand why they had to do that. Just a small note before we carry on. If it happens that Facebook feels the images are too much and they block the video, it's also going to be on YouTube. So Mike has his own YouTube channel too. So if Facebook feels that the images were too much, then it'll be available on YouTube. Just let you know. Hi everyone. This is the part of the video that has graphic images coming up. So if you don't want to see something like that, then just stop the video and we've shown you everything that you want to see. If it doesn't bother you too much, then you can proceed and see the images. I think the images show a little bit on how serious the incident was that I went through and how Mike came into my life. There's a little boy. Hey, buddy. Yeah, you're a good boy. Anyway, I just wanted to warn you about these images. So, you take care, and Mike and I love you, and Mommy too. Okay? Thank you.